So this movie was something that really piqued my interest. The Jonas Brothers' rise to fame happened right in my youth. I was always surrounded by their music and their movies, and then when their comeback happened, I didn't even realize how big it was going to be. But it's massive. So this movie stars the Jonas Brothers, Kevin, Nick, and Joe, with about 2 references to Frankie the whole time. No screen time for him. Poor guy. And this movie was released on Amazon Prime. Yeah. And it lined up with their new album and their new tour, so I kind of just figured it would be a poorly put together movie, really only for marketing purposes, but boy was I wrong. The movie looks at the brothers' childhood, their rise to fame, issues with Disney Channel, their breakup, and then their reunion. And the most impressive thing about this movie is how much archival footage that they have. It seemed like the family was filming everything their whole lives, just with the anticipation that they would one day get a documentary about them. You know, they're filming everything from family dinners to school recitals, but then you get things like their dad losing their job and them just chilling at home. You know, it kind of seemed like they had an unusual amount of footage, but it worked really well for this movie. They really complimented all the interviews, and it gave you a better look into what was happening in their lives, making you feel like you're part of their childhood. And it also helped to set up the emotional scenes a lot better, like any losses in their family or their breakup. You kind of saw these unraveling before your eyes just through their home videos. Now here's the thing with music documentaries. You always know how they're gonna end. You knew that the Backstreet Boys would get back together, you knew Justin Bieber would sell out Madison Square Garden, you knew Oasis would eventually break up, and you knew the Jonas Brothers would break up and then get back together. And this makes it less about the story, but more about how the story is presented. And this movie did an amazing job at that. Chasing Happiness not only weaves together the archival footage and the interviews seamlessly, but it also plays games as a way to get out new information. For example, for about half of the film, the brothers play a drinking game in order to air out their grievances with each other. This allows for a lot of information to come out, and it's done in a pretty creative way. And I loved having all members of the band sitting together talking to each other rather than having separate interviews the whole time. From this movie, you get a really good understanding of what led to the downfall of this band, and you feel their humiliation of being a band associated with the Disney Channel. Something that in this day and age leads to a lot of celebrity meltdowns, like Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes. We see a lot of people melt down, but we never know behind the scenes of this, and it's never really been addressed properly. So this movie really does a great job with addressing these issues. The film also manages to not force the Jonas Brothers music down your throat. You know, most of this movie is filled with old songs that have never been released before. It's filled with some of their greatest hits, and less popular songs as well, which makes for a really good balance, opposed to what I was thinking it was going to be, of just all their new songs, bam bam bam, right after another. The one thing I really didn't like about this movie was how quickly they brushed over their rise to fame. It kind of made them seem like they were just an overnight sensation, playing down a lot of the hard work that they'd clearly put into their band. In reality, people who grew up with this band would know that the Meet the Robinsons soundtrack, their appearance on Hannah Montana, these were all things that made them the major stars that they are, but it never really showed getting to that point. They showed year 3000, jumped right ahead to right after Camp Rock, and we never saw this in between, probably some of the hardest work that they put in. And another thing that I really wish they had talked about in this movie, but didn't, was the assumed drama between Nick and Joe over who would be the frontman of the band. Because we all know that in the past it was always Joe, but suddenly with their reunion, now Nick's the frontman. Kind of seems a little strange, but maybe it's something we'll just never know. So in the end, this movie is an overload of nostalgia, which will have a lot of viewers going, "Oh, they're so cute!" But it's also very well done and does a great job at telling the Jonas Brothers story from start to present. So for me, this movie's gonna get an 8 out of 10. Well, that's all from me today. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below of what you thought of this movie. And yeah, I'll see you next time.
I make the most of all the stress.